Hello everyone, this is DM Gashbad. I took a little bit of a break over the holidays, but I am back. I'm ready to bring you round 3 of the California Batman Miniature Game Championship. For those of you who haven't watched my previous 2 videos and don't want anything spoiled for them, I guess, go back and watch those because I'm going to talk about what's been going on. Long story short, I'm on a bit of a roll. Surprisingly, I have been doing very well. I have brought my CW Legion of Doom crew. It's basically a Mr. Freeze crew that is based on the CW TV shows, specifically Legends of Tomorrow, where all the villains get together and make the Legion of Doom. Listen, I explained this in the other episodes, but real fast, here's a picture of the crew. I'll go over those as quickly as I can. Way over on the left, you have Prisoner 3, Prisoner with the Axe. I've given him the excellent piece of equipment, the cooling generator. It's basically a whistle. It gives him the stop rule. Next up, I have Turk with his twin handguns, no extra equipment. After that, we have my leader. He is a sidekick for the Mr. Freeze crew, but I can make him a boss, not a leader. I'll get to that in a little bit. That's Captain Cold. Up next is Reverse Flash as a free agent. After him is Heatwave, also a free agent. Then we have High Security Henchman. For him, I gave him a grapple gun, giving him the back claw rule. And finally, we have Prisoner 1, Prisoner with the tube or pipe. He has the Metapack, which is also an excellent piece of equipment. Allows him to heal 2 damage once per game. So for round 3, we will be playing the trophy scenario. I've played this before. I really like this one. It has awesome corner L-shaped deployments, which can allow you to really move forward nicely. It also allows you to deploy objectives relatively close to your own guys, especially things like loot and stuff that goes within 8 inches of your deployment zone. You also have one trophy objective in the dead center of the table, which is worth 3 victory points a turn and also gives you bonus points for claiming it first. You also get a bonus victory point every time you knock out an opponent's model. This round, my opponent is Kyle. If I'm not mistaken, I think Kyle came all the way in from Vegas with a couple of his guys. These guys were great guys. I really enjoyed this game. This was a super fun game. We were placed all the way on the far end of the gaming area, furthest away from the organizer's table and all that kind of stuff. It was like being at the back of the bus with all the cool kids. Lots of jokes. It was really fun. Unfortunately, this is also sort of my high water mark for getting rules wrong. I think I got more rules wrong in this game than any other. I really apologize, especially since I know that Kyle has watched my videos before and may well watch this one. I apologize for all the stuff that I got wrong. You know the rules better than I do. We didn't get any arguments or anything like that, but we'll get into it later on, so I'm sorry about that. Here's a picture of the table that they wanted to shove us off onto so that we didn't bug any of the cool people. It's kind of this cool industrial thing with that old Gotham tilework stuff. Anyway, it looks pretty nice. Real quickly, Kyle is using a Brave and the Bold crew. So we've got, it looks like Arkham City Red Hood. We have Nightwing, who I believe is the leader. Looks like that's also Arkham City. We have Gotham Policeman. We have Damien Wayne, that Robin there. We also have a QRT-2 with a carbine, Salvador, and right behind him is Catwoman. Again, that looks like the Arkham City version. So here you see a picture of my deployment. Now, I took the fast advance strategy, again, because that's just been really convenient. I really like that strategy, especially since I found in my previous game of this scenario that getting that center objective as soon as possible is really important. Getting those bonus victory points just gives you a gigantic lead. So I wanted to get there as fast as I could. So I took fast advance, and I also took fake objective. And again, like an idiot, I put it on his loot, thinking that it dropped him down to getting 0 victory points for that thing, which it doesn't. That's one of the first mistakes that I make. It goes down to a minimum of 1. So if you normally get 1 victory point for holding the loot, you will still get that 1. Now, hopefully, again, it doesn't matter that much, and we'll see why. But yeah, that was my mistake. Anyway, you can kind of see my deployment. This is after the first Speed Force phase, when Reverse Flash does exactly what Reverse Flash does every time. He gets his Super Speed level 1, Super Speed level 2, Muscle Growth and Fast Combo, and he goes and uses his wall climbing ability. You know, he can go up walls without paying the extra movement costs, and he gets himself up on those tanks up on the left. You can see he's also got high security henchmen nearby, so those are my fast guys. I put those on that extreme left corner. Those are the people that can move around reasonably well and can kind of operate independently of my main group. So you can just barely see my main group underneath that catwalk there. It looks like Turk is in the front, and then it's just all my guys. That's Heatwave, Captain Cold, the Axe Prisoner, yeah, all those fun guys. You can't actually see it, but of course we have the main trophy loot right in the center of the table under plenty of light. Sort of on the far right of the corner by a bunch of those tanks that you can't really see because of the really tall tank, there's his loot. My loot is actually just a bit in front of Reverse Flash right now on the other side of those tanks. You see that blue truck there at the bottom? He's got all his objectives down there. He's got a medical supply and an ammo. And my objectives for my guys, you can see my Titan objective on the upper left, surrounded by his guys, and my ammo a bit down from that. So anyway, we go into the Bag of Destiny, and my opponent pulls his counter out first. Now, of course, this is what I usually like. I like my opponent to use up their counters because Captain Cold gives me a bonus counter for being a mastermind. So this gives me more opportunity to take the lead later in the game, which I prefer. Now, of course, as I said, I get the Speed Force phase first, and Reverse Flash moves up here. You can see the loot right down below him, but that means he gets to move his guys. He gets the opportunity to have a character take their activation before any of my guys, and he activates Catwoman, and she runs up and takes that loot. Now, this helps me out a little bit because I feel less bad about using that fake objective strategy on that loot. Catwoman has primary objective loot, so she gets a bonus victory point for holding on to it. So she would normally get 2 because it's a fake objective. She gets 1, so hopefully everything sort of balances itself out here. Now, Catwoman is going to be really hard to hurt. She's not interested in attacking my guys. She's got a defense of 5, and she's got piles of defense counters. Now, she can't use them against Reverse Flash, but he doesn't have rerolls or anything like that, so it's going to be challenging for him to do any damage to her. So I'm not really sure what my plan with Catwoman is going to be. So on my activation, I think, well, first thing I got to do is get my guys moving. So I'm going to activate Captain Cold, and he's going to inspire, which he can't do. Only leaders can inspire, and I've gone over this in my other videos. I make this mistake throughout the tournament. Captain Cold is a sidekick. He doesn't get the inspired trait, even though he is the boss of the crew, even though he has the leadership skill or trait on his card, he doesn't get to inspire. So I mess up here. Again, hopefully this doesn't mess me up too badly, but I hand a bunch of counters out to my guys, which I wouldn't normally be able to do. And like I said, what I really want to do is get all my guys moving, and I want to claim that center objective. So I move Captain Cold, my boss, straight up to claim that thing, thinking everyone's going to pile in after me. This is probably a dumb thing that I do. So I've basically taken my leader, an expensive model in my group, and I've just jaunted him straight out. I think, yeah, he's under the effects of that light. I'm taking a big risk with this. And we'll just have to see how it goes. However, I really do want that center objective, and because Captain Cold has that 3 movement and I got the fast advance, he has the opportunity to grab it. For his next activation, he sees an opportunity that I have given him, so he moves Damien Wayne up, and he's going to throw his batarangs, whatever they're called for Damien Wayne, at Captain Cold, and I don't think he does much of anything. He might give him just a scratch or something like that, but it's definitely given me a shot across the bow, and I've realized how vulnerable a position I've left him, because he has a lot of guns stationed around that area. He's got Salvador with his carbine, he's got a bunch of these kind of powerful heroes, and I get a little bit worried. Anyway, I get away with it for the time being. Damien Wayne doesn't do any lasting damage to Captain Cold, but it's definitely rattled me. But the next thing I have to do is I have to take Axe prisoner, and I'm going to go get my loot over in the far right-hand corner. Now again, he wouldn't have been able to pick it up without the bonus movement die that I gave him because of Captain Cold. However, he would have been able to base it, so I still would have gotten those victory points. So I mentioned in a previous video how the local areas play things a little bit differently. I was talking about the objectives in the last one. Our local group plays it that you don't get victory points unless the model is actually carrying it. Now, this never really made any sense to me. As far as I can tell, the letter of the rules say that if you're basing the loot, it's just like any other objective. You count as controlling it and you get the points. Also, if another model is basing you and you're carrying the objective, well then you're the one controlling it, they're basing you, you don't get the points. So you're kind of like doing a tug of war with the loot back and forth. This is how every opponent that I played at the tournament plays it. It's different from the way the local players do it, but I like their way better. Their way makes more sense. So that's the way we played it throughout the tournament. So, you know, if I got it wrong, I don't think that we did. It just makes more sense to me. But anyway, Prisoner 3 goes and grabs that loot. So I think because he has so few models, he must have given me a little pass here. So I take that opportunity to go, and I'm just worried about getting a bunch of damage on Captain Cold and not being able to do anything about it. So I make another mistake. I basically make the same mistake twice. I take my reverse flash, and he's going to buzz over, and he's going to base Salvador over there. He's also going to base my ammo. And I'm going to really put the pressure on him, but I'm going to take my other really expensive guy, and I'm just going to put him into the middle of my opponent's deployment zone. And just, so my goal was to stop the guy with a carbine from just spraying Captain Cold down with bullets. Now, right now I don't think Reverse Flash is set up for much of an attack, so I don't really do much to him. But, well, yeah, we'll go on with it. That's the idea, but maybe not the best plan. This is kind of, this takes a little bit of guts on Eobard Thon's behalf, because he really is jumping into the middle of things, and my opponent has a lot of activations left. And we can see his next one right there. So Red Hood, seeing an opportunity, he's going to just jump forward and he's going to try and unload his attacks into Reverse Flash. Now, he just doesn't do much. Reverse Flash is defense 5. Of course, he's based by another model, so he's going to go down to defense 4. But Red Hood just doesn't come up with the hits, and basically Reverse Flash yet again just gets away with it. So it's my turn next. I'm starting to see the problem that I put myself in. So the next thing I do is I'm going to move Pipe Prisoner up as fast as I can. He's going to get right behind Captain Cold. Basically, he's looking to use his metapack on Captain Cold as soon as humanly possible, because I don't have a whole lot of faith in this situation. I think he's going to take some damage. So in my opponent's next activation, he's going to activate his QRT2, and he's got that extendable baton. He's going to hit, he's got handy, he's going to try and smack Reverse Flash around with his 2 attacks, needing 4s to hit with the reroll, doing double stun. But again, he just doesn't come up with the rolls. His dice are pretty cold right now, and Reverse Flash, I don't think he's taken any damage at all. In my activation, I move Turk up. I don't have a picture of that, but that's what happens. So then my opponent, he's really going to go after him now. So Gotham Policeman, he moves up. Now this is going to take Reverse Flash down to defense, let's see, 4-3, and he's going to hit him with his handy baton. And again, nothing happens. Just doesn't come up with any damage. Reverse Flash just wandered up in the middle of my opponent's crew and just dances away scot-free. Now he's not going to get any victory points for that objective, obviously, because he's just surrounded by my opponent. But still, this is working out probably better than I deserve. My next activation, you can see here, again, I'm kind of skipping stuff, but I have moved Heatwave up to join Captain Cold. And then my opponent, since he used one of his passes, he now takes the opportunity to go for an assassination run. He uses Nightwing's back claw, and he absolutely jams all the way over, and he's going to make an assassination attempt on Captain Cold. And he unloads on poor Leonard Snart with his double electric batons, and he doesn't do much of anything. I totally get away with it. Nightwing has not had a great set of games this tournament. I don't know what exactly happened. It was just miserable rolling on his part. But Leonard Snart is up and feeling fine. And Nightwing is maybe looking a little concerned because he is basically in the position that a lot of my guys are. And he's in the position that Reverse Flash is. He's surrounded by my guys. If you're starting to sense a little bit of a pattern in the games that I've been playing this tournament, if you're starting to think, is your general strategy that you are going to recklessly lob one of your models forward and just rely on your opponent's bad luck to miss and then brutally counterattack? You might not be far wrong, because it has definitely been happening this game. It definitely happened in the last two games. I don't necessarily recommend what I'm doing, but for the time being, this seems to be working. So my last activation, I have High Security Henchman. High Security Henchman has a lot of options. He can go in and help it Reverse Flash. He can go and try to attack Catwoman. But I decide at the very end, I'm going to go and try and help out my leader, or my boss, that I have kind of put in this dangerous position. And I'm going to buzz him over. He's set for attack. And I'm going to try and help out Mr. Snart with Nightwing. And he runs in and he does a great job. He drops a bunch of damage on Nightwing and he knocks him down. Now it's Nightwing that is looking like he's in a bit of trouble. I believe my opponent takes the lead again, which is not great. I would have really preferred to have had the opportunity to go first. But I do get the Speed Force phase. And Reverse Flash has started to figure out that maybe that is not the best spot for him. So he takes off and he goes and he tries to hide behind my own Titan container up in the upper left. So my opponent gets to go first. And just like a boss, Nightwing is not done with Captain Cold. He's not going to run away. I mean, he can't use his back claw. But he's going to stick in there and he's going to continue to try to drub my guy into submission. He can jump up, and of course he's an acrobat, so he doesn't have to spend any dice to do that. Runs over and just unloads another flurry of attacks on Captain Cold, and again he fails to come up with any kind of meaningful damage. I mean, maybe he put 4 stun on him or something like that, but regardless, Captain Cold is still up, he is still standing, he is still fine. Against all probability, he has hung in there against 2 rounds of drubbing from Nightwing, and yeah, this is better than I deserved. So like all those guys standing around him, they all get to activate, and he's stuck, and it is not a great situation. So let's go and make this situation even better. So Axe Prisoner goes and hops over that little pipe right there, and he uses his he uses his cooling generator on Nightwing. He's going to add 1 to his he's going to subtract 1 from his defense, and he's going to make sure that he can't use any movement counters, because I'm really thinking about I'm gonna take Heatwave up there and I'm gonna just roast that guy. That's my idea. But either way, not being able to use movement counters and lowering his defense by 1 is a fantastic situation. So it looks like my opponent went and did a pass right here. So I say, okay, that works for me. Pipe Prisoner is just going to heal Captain Cold for 2 points of damage, 2 points of stun damage, and he's going to go and base Nightwing. Now, last round, I found out that this particular Nightwing is not a martial artist, which blows my mind. I didn't think they would ever make a Nightwing that is not a martial artist. If any model seems like they should have that rule, I would think it would be him. But anyway, Nightwing has, I think he starts at defense 4. He's got the cooling generator hit to him, and he's got 2 people in base contact with him. This guy's basically defense 2 now, so he's in a lot of trouble. In my opponent's next activation, he is starting to get a little bit worried about this whole situation. So what he's going to do is he's going to take Damien Wayne, and he's going to back claw up to the very top of that tall tower. Now, I didn't mention this before, but he's got a bat signal in my deployment zone up on one of those towers a little bit further to the right. So that's where Damien is going to go. He's going to go try and switch on that thing and start generating lots of victory points. My next activation, it's time for High Security Henchman to go do his thing. He runs over, he is hitting on 2s, and he just absolutely goes murderous on Nightwing and just takes him straight out of the game. I mean, I really like this High Security Henchman guy. Combo with knives, blood damage, devastating blow. He has I mean, Nightwing was going away one way or the other. He's just surrounded by bad guys. But in this case, High Security is the one that managed to take him out. Now, my opponent's leader is down, and I have just absolutely surrounded that trophy objective with dudes, and I am feeling like I'm in a really good position. Catwoman, for her part, she's going to go and do a smart thing. She's going to run over with her loot. Actually, I think she has to drop the loot in order to get this. So she drops the loot and she buzzes over to my opponent's ammo objective. And so she's going to, there's no one near her. So she's going to be collecting 3 victory points around, and there's not much I can do about it for the time being. It looks like Reverse Flash is just a little bit nervous about this entire situation. I probably loaded up on the defense on this guy because I didn't want to have 3 people trying to beat me to death over the course of this next turn, so I just needed him to survive. So I don't know that I actually gave him any attack counters at all. I probably gave him the Kevlar rule, and so he's just going to hang out there. He's going to draw his dose of Titan, which you know I absolutely love, and he's just going to chill. In my opponent's next activation, he's just going to take Gotham Policeman. He's going to go behind the ammo container. It looks like he's going to crouch. On my turn, I've decided what I really need to do is I need to send all my flunkies out, and I'm going to go try to deal with Catwoman. I want to at least be able to base her, or base those objectives, or chase her off those objectives, something. I just need to get in the way and stop her from making all those victory points. So I think I take Turk and I just say, hey, go talk to Catwoman with those 2 handguns. In my opponent's activation, he runs forward. He's not going to, Red Hood isn't done with Reverse Flash yet. He buzzes over and he's going to try and beat him on the head with those the butts of those handguns he's got. Again, he's not going to do much of anything. My mooks aren't going to do much against like Red Hood and the Carbine guy, but I have high hopes for Heatwave, so I send him forward to try and go put that flamethrower to good use. It looks like what happens here is Captain Cold gets an activation and he takes a shot at Damien. I don't think that ends up doing a whole lot. I think at some point QRT opens up on some of my guys underneath that lamppost. I don't think he does much of anything there either. So we're going to go over to the Speed Force phase. Here's Reverse Flash. He's going to go defense this round. He's going to get his Kevlar ability and he's going to prime himself up for some close combat attacks. The next thing I'm going to do, I believe, is I'm going to use Captain Cold and I'm going to try to zap Damien again. And this time I think I do hit him, which is really important because not only does Damien not dodge, because Captain Cold has that accurate rule and just my opponent's dice rolls are not doing real well, but I take away a movement die from him because of the cold rule. So now he can't move much of anywhere. He's basically used all his movement dice, and so he's not going to turn on that bat signal this round, which is good news. So again, I'm not exactly sure what my opponent does next. It must not have mattered too much. Either he took a pass or whatever he tried just didn't work. But the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run Heatwave up as fast as I can, and I'm going to pour fire down on those 2 cops there. I get them both. I put down a bunch of fire counters. I'm extremely happy about that. I really love that fire template. So those guys are looking in a bunch of trouble because they don't have a ton of endurance. There you see Damian Wayne. He's actually going to get partway down that ladder, but he can't move very far just because because of the dodging and the cold hit that he took previously. Here you see my axe prisoner. He's going to try and help out against Catwoman, just slowly move in that direction. Catwoman's probably just going to hang out there. She's going to activate. I don't think my opponent wants to overexpose himself, so we're all kind of doing our small guys first. Anyway, Catwoman's going to hang out there. 2 prisoners going to move towards her, again, just trying to keep her from gaining too many victory points at the end of the game. Next, we have the QRT2. He's going to open up with his carbine on Heatwave. Heatwave has just a pile of endurance. Here's something I want to talk about. So throughout the tournament, my opponent seemed to really like these carbines, these rapid-fire assault weapons that cause just the single blood. I'm not sure if I'm as much of a fan, because I can usually look at those things and think, well, maximum you're going to do this amount of damage. Like, for example, Heatwave's charging down on these guys, and he's got like 8 endurance. And that carbine is going to do maximum, like if he absolutely hits and wounds with every shot and gets a critical in, he's going to do like 6 blood and a stun, and that's really not very likely. like to be able to hit with all 6 shots is a lot less likely than, say, you have an automatic gun, just like a pistol, and you have 3 shots. I was kind of thinking about this earlier. Let's see. In order to hit with all 3 shots against a defense 4 guy with an automatic gun, your odds are about 1 in 8, which isn't great, but I mean, it's out there. In order to hit with all 6 shots of a carbine, you would be looking at 1632, 1 in 64. So it's just, the threat for these carbines really isn't there. I know people really like them. I mean, obviously, they're longer range, and you get the option of moving and firing. But there's something kind of more dangerous about the higher damage guns that the carbines don't really present. Anyway, that's what happens. He fires back at Heatwave. He goes behind the ammo crate and crouches. Yeah, but these guys they're taking fire. I mean, literally. Here we have Turk. He's going to move up. He's going to try and do something about Catwoman. The game is getting on, and so I think I may even fire a round from his handgun just to see if I can get lucky. I'm sure I don't. I don't think I do any damage, but thinking that I'm not going to go through all this guy's ammo, I figured I might as well take the shot, and I don't do anything. So Gotham Policeman, thinking it's probably not a good idea with Heatwave right there to cluster everybody around one area, he moves off to that barrel. He's no dummy. High Security Henchman, he's got his grapple gun active now, so he runs up. He absolutely dives across the board. I don't think that he kills QRT2 here, but he's likely to put a bunch of damage on him, and he's in a great position now, so that's good news. Reverse Flash is mad. He's going to take care of QRT2. He comes in and just unloads a bunch of punches on him, and that's going to send him KO. So here is my next Speed Force phase, and this is the next thing that I get wrong. So I take my standard stuff. I'm going to activate, I'm going to activate my Titan. Red Hood, I think, is going to activate his Titan too, so I think we're both on Titan. I'm going to do my standard thing. I'm going to do muscle growth. I'm going to do fast combo. I'm going to do super speed level 2 and super speed level 1. And here's the thing here's the mistake, basically. So I move him over because I'm going to base Red Hood. My opponent asks, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, I'm going to base you so now you can't fire your handguns. You go down to a rate of fire 1. And he's like, wait, no, that's not true. These are light guns. They can fire at their full rate of fire, even if someone's in base contact. No, I say, you can fire rate of fire 1 and you can still fire, but that's it. And so, I quickly look it up and I show it and I'll say, there it is. Your rate of fire goes down to 1. Here's the thing that I messed up on. I had forgotten that I have the earliest version of the rulebook. I have the rulebook that first came out when they released the rules as the online PDF. Had it printed out. I was going to print out the newer version the day before, but the copy place had like a 24-hour wait on it. That's my pathetic excuse. I didn't have the newest copy of the rules, and at this moment I completely forgot that I was dealing with old rules. And even if I didn't remember that, I had no idea that they had changed the light rule from the first edition that they came out a couple weeks later to the third edition, that the 1.3 that we're using now. They got rid of that, and now you can fire with your full rate of fire with light weapons when they're in base to base with another model. And I want to apologize to Kyle. Now again, Reverse Flash is on Titan. He's defense 6. It's probably not going to make much difference. Now, it has to be said that Red Hood also has silencers on his gun, and I think QRT does too, so I can't dodge these weapons. So it's still better for him to shoot at Reverse Flash than try to punch me, I think. Even so, it's unlikely to cause much damage. However, you were right and I was wrong. I really apologize for that. Again, I just had no idea that a major rule like this would be changed. I wish Night Models would have said what stuff got changed when they re-released the compendiums and the main rulebooks, but they didn't. Again, it's too bad. On the other hand, even though I'm unhappy that I got this rule wrong, and of course my opponent was right about it, but I can't help thinking how awesome that makes my other crew. Now, Agent Ron with his handgun, and especially Diggle with his handgun and his master marksman. I mean, that guy has his Kevlar vest. He can have all that armor, like that riot gear. He can take a punch and then just unload 3 shots with his handgun, re-rolling to hit into a person in base-to-base contact. Diggle just sounds fabulous. I'm super excited for the next time that I use that guy. But anyway, I digress. Here's the situation as it is. I mess up. If I had known that was the rule, I probably wouldn't have moved Reverse Flash in base-to-base contact like that. I probably would have just kept him over by the ammo and gotten extra pings. But anyway, as I said before, learn from my mistakes. So that's the end of the Speed Force phase, and we're both looking to go super aggressive this round. It looks like my opponent took the lead again. So this means he's gotten all 3 of his counters out of the way. I'm going to take the lead from now on, but of course I would have much rather at this point gotten the opportunity to do stuff first. Anyway, it looks like QRT2, again, these guys, they just wake up at the recovery phase. So he moves away from my high security henchman and open fires. I think he, again, is trying to put damage on Heatwave, but with 3 shots this round, it's just not happening, and Heatwave is doing just fine. Speaking of Heatwave, he has a job to do. He runs forward, and he takes his flamethrower, and he spreads a bunch of fire on Gotham Policeman and Red Hood. Now, Red Hood is up for combat right now, so he's not dodging, and the other cop is already on fire and is really hurt, so he's going to burn to death, basically. He's going to burn to death this round. But Red Hood has teamwork, so as the cop is burning, he's stealing the cop's movement counters in order to put his own fire out, which I think is pretty funny. So here's poor Gotham Policeman burning to death, and Red Hood's like, hey, throw me that fire extinguisher, or whatever. And basically, he's saving his own life at the poor sacrifice of this brave policeman. But that's Heatwave again and doing the job there. I forget that Heatwave is a criminal, which is good and bad. It means that his cops would have bonuses to hit him, but I also don't give him the extra willpower for killing people, which I just did. So, again, more rules that I'm getting wrong. Here goes Damien Wayne. Damien Wayne's finally able to get all the way down to that bat signal and turn that on. Last round I had an option. I was really tempted to take High Security Henchman and bat claw him up and have a big showdown between Damien Wayne and High Security Henchman, which I think would have been really climactic. But in the end, I thought I needed that guy over where the fighting was the thickest. So I don't have any way of dealing with this bat signal right now, but, there it is. Hey, speaking of which, here's High Security Henchman again. He's going to take those knives, and he's going to do some more damage to QRT2. Looks like I've just knocked him down, so he's not out still. You know what? He must be out. He must be unconscious again, because if he woke up, he would have only had 1 damage left. So we're just continuing to kick this guy, but he's being a real soldier hanging in there for as long as he is. So here's some bad news for my opponent, just like he needs any more of that. Axe Prisoner has kept moving there, and he has gone up and he has used the cooling generator on Catwoman, which my opponent had forgotten about and is really bad news. Because again, that's going to up her defense and is going to mean that all those movement counters that she has stockpiled, she cannot use this round. Which sets him up nicely to get the double handgun treatment from Turk. Turk just rolls phenomenally and unloads just a pile of hits on Catwoman. She fails the pings, she can't dodge, and he KOs her in 1 round. He does all the damage in the world. Catwoman's out, no victory points for her. That's not good. Here we have Red Hood. By this point, we've kind of seen how this game is going. Red Hood's going to zip over. He's on Titan. He's going to go and he's going to help out QRT. You see he is KO'd. High Security Henchman did the damage on him. He's going to come over and he's going to beat up High Security Henchman with his guns. Again, just completely failing. Just not doing much of anything. Against all laws of probability. Can't get those rules to go anywhere, and we're both laughing at this point. That games like this, there's really nothing you can do. I think we're wrapping up. This is round 4. Looks like Captain Cold takes a shot at Red Hood. I don't really know that he does anything very important. Next activation, I've got Reverse Flash. He's going to come up. He's going to try to punch Red Hood a couple times. Again, Red Hood standing at the end of this. He's doing all right. He's taken some damage, but he's definitely not knocked out. You see Gotham Policeman there at the end of that round. He's going to burn to death. So yeah, this was another giant win. There's just not a whole lot that my opponent has left. QRT is 2 is knocked out. Catwoman is knocked out. Gotham Policeman is gone. Nightwing is gone. He's got Red Hood, but jeez, is that? And he's got Damien Wayne. So he's got Red Hood and he's got Damien Wayne, and that's it. And I have a colossal lead in victory points because every person that I've knocked out, I'm getting a bonus victory point for. In addition to, Captain Cole's just been sitting on that trophy objective since the very beginning. So all by himself, he's earned at least 9 victory points. Not to mention the loot that Axe Prisoner's been carrying around. Anyway, yeah, there's not much I can say about this one. I just threw my guys forward in really exposed positions and just watched my opponent completely miss with his attacks. Looking back on it, I see some of the things that he's been trying to do. You know, bring Red Hood in to beat up QRT so that QRT can fire. It's kind of the same technique that I think my opponent from the first round was using, and it just didn't pan out for him, man. Those dice were not working. And of course, it doesn't help about the rules that I was getting wrong, but I hope that my opponent had a fun game. I know that even though things went really bad for him, he was just a really great guy. There was just lots of laughing, lots of jokes. I really liked the crew, kind of the like all the Robins. Carrie Kelly and Tim Drake didn't get the invite. They're sitting alone at the cafeteria, so they didn't get to play. But all the other Robins showed up, and so it was fun to see some of those guys that I'd never fought against. Thanks you guys for watching. Thanks again to my opponent. Thanks again to the tournament organizers. We've got one more round to go through. Right now I'm feeling really, really well. I'm not sure how many people at this point have gone undefeated, but I know there's not many. And again, I know what the prize support is, and it's phenomenal. So right now I'm extremely confident that no matter what happens in that last round, I'm walking away with something pretty awesome. So this has been just another great situation. And yeah, thanks you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one.